A Georgia family is living a nightmare, mourning not one, but two devastating losses. Twin brothers Quadir and Nazir Lewis were found fatally shot on top of a mountain miles away from their home. Their family told WXIA News the 19-year-olds were supposed to be in Boston visiting friends. Their plane tickets were booked, their bags were packed, and their family thought they were already on the way. But they never made their flight. Instead, just 24 hours later, they were found dead. Their bodies were discovered nearly 90 miles away from their Lawrenceville, Georgia home at the top of Bell Mountain, a place their family says they've never been before. According to Explore Georgia, the park is known for the Hal Herron Scenic Overlook, which rises to over 3,000 feet of elevation and has a 360 view of the surrounding lake and mountains. In an interview with local news station WXIA, the family said the brothers don't hike the mountain. They know nothing about the area, and they, quote, never heard of Bell Mountain, so how did they end up there? According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, at 11:05 a.m. on Saturday, March 8th, a 911 call came in. Hikers had stumbled upon the unthinkable: two young men, both shot. The GBI ruled it a murder-suicide in their preliminary investigation, claiming one of the brothers pulled the trigger before turning the gun on himself. But their family refuses to accept that. They say the twins were inseparable, and the theory doesn't add up. We do know, however, that reportedly their plane tickets to Boston were allegedly still in their wallets. Investigators have not released any details about the gunshots, gun wounds, any weapons found at the scene, or any other details about how they were found and if or what was also on them. It's also unknown who had the last known contact with the twins and if there were any indicators from friends that the two weren't going to be making that trip to Boston. Police and family members have also not released how the two ended up on the mountain, such as driving or being dropped off. We do know that the FBI is assisting the Towns County Sheriff's Office with the investigation. So far, there has been one arrest in the case. Days after the twins' death, the GBI released an update saying they arrested and charged 42-year-old Scott Curlin with misdemeanor obstruction. Curlin is a volunteer firefighter in Towns County who took photos of the Lewis twins' death scene and shared them publicly. In a GoFundMe page created by the brothers' aunt, she wrote, quote, "My nephews wouldn't do this. They came from a family of love, and the twins wanted so much for their future. They had dreams of starting their very own clothing line." Unfortunately, something happened at Bell Mountain that ended the lives of 19-year-old Quadir and Nazir, which needs to be further investigated. At the time of this recording, the GoFundMe has raised nearly $30,000. So what really happened on that mountain? How did the brothers, who were supposed to be on a flight to Boston, end up dead in a place their family says they'd never been? It's a mystery their loved ones are desperate to unravel, and one they hope police will answer soon as they struggle to make sense of this unimaginable loss. And I'm joined by legal expert.
What's up, family? What's up? What's up? Happy Saturday. I know I'm a little late with this, but hey, I had to take care of some business today, but I wanted to make sure I get this to you. Joseph Ward here, and if this is your first time viewing on the Shoulders of Giants, welcome. We try to make sure that we give relevant information, stories about our ancestors, breakdowns, critical thinking pieces, lectures, all types of information we try to give to our people to help uplift us and empower us to help us become a better people and create something for ourselves to solve our own issues, right? And remember to like this video, comment, subscribe, and share this video, remember, as many people as possible, because this is Saturday, so you already know this is Negro News Network, right? NegroNews.com, where I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what's going on in the Negro world. So today I have 3 stories, 2 ugly and 1 good. We're going to end good. I promise you we're going to end good. But the first 2 stories we got to get to, we got to talk about what's going on, right? And this first story is about the twin brothers, Quadir and Nazir Lewis, who were found dead on top of Bell Mountain in Georgia. So as you can hear in the story, and I'm gonna get back to it, but I just had to, welcome you and add my piece, right? So they were supposed to be on a flight to Boston, but they end up on the top of Bell Mountain in Georgia. So the question is, how did they get to Bell Mountain? Did they get to Bell Mountain on their own, or was it because of somebody else getting them to Bell Mountain and then fatally executing them? Now, the case has been ruled, or it has been looked at, or it is looked at as a deletion, self-deletion, right? If you get my drift, the deletion, the red rum self-deletion, right? So that's what the headlines, the stories, things are looking at. I think there's some autopsy reports, but the family doesn't believe that the twins would go to the top of Bell Mountain and take themselves out. Now, I don't know anything about the twins, and all of the information that I've come across is pretty much saying the same thing that is being said in the news story that we're listening to. And it's saying the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, concluded in a preliminary report that one brother had killed the other, then turned the gun on himself. So this is what the GBI is even saying, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. They believe that one brother took the other brother out. I don't know. And then they find the volunteer fireman who was arrested and charged because he took the picture. He took a picture of the boys, and he's a suspect. And he should be a suspect. So the question is, for the volunteer fireman, did he just stumble upon the boys, or was he a part of their demise? And of course, a lot of people believe that, or will go on to believe that the white guy is a part of the demise. And he very well could be, because he's the one who initially was there with the bodies, and he's the one who took the picture. So of course he's going to be prime suspect. And then from my understanding, the pictures were shared across social media. Yeah, so let's get back into this news story and see what more information they give us.
Lawrence Zimmerman. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
So let's just dive right in. Based on what we know, which unfortunately is not a lot of information at this point, does the official ruling of murder-suicide align with typical patterns seen in similar cases?
I mean, it's hard to really say, because police don't always release all the details. So, it's kind of early, I think. I mean, I guess just if you look back just a couple weeks ago, the whole Gene Hackman thing, right? People thought that was potentially murder-suicide. Ends up it wasn't at all. So sometimes I think that's just because they don't really know anything else. That may just be the easiest conclusion to draw.
But we do have a history in America of when Black people, especially Black men, are deleted, that it's always looked at as self-deletion. It's always looked at as self-deletion from the standpoint of the Black man, because it's like, well, nobody else could have took them out. And of course, it's always, when they have a lack of evidence, it always points to self-deletion, especially in the case of Black men, because they believe that's just what we do to ourselves. But there's never like the benefit of the doubt as far as they might not want to take themselves out. It's never given. They just run with, well, we don't have the evidence we need, or we do have the evidence that we need. We do have the evidence that we need, but we just not going to tell you that we have the evidence that we need. And because we want to protect said person who evidence is showing that they're guilty, since we want to protect said person, then we're going to act like it's a self-deletion. So that's a possibility as well. So in this, since I don't have enough information, we're considering all possibilities. Yes, it is a possibility that the young men could have harmed themselves. That is a possibility. But what's the probability? According to the family and according to other people, they have had no type of signs, no evidence or anything that the young men may be in a state of where they would want to take themselves out. And so now I know that does not prove anything, but this is the information that we have, right? So let's keep going.
Right now, and then they'll figure it out, but I don't know.
When investigators make an early ruling like this, how thorough is their process? Could they be potentially overlooking key evidence?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. And
Yes.
I'm not trying to insult the Towns County Sheriff's Office, but it's not exactly. It's a pretty safe place, pretty safe county. They don't have many things like this happen up there. I know the area pretty well. And they don't have a large law enforcement, sheriff's department, just a couple investigators. I don't think there's, again, I'm not in any way criticizing them at all. I'm just saying I don't think they have the resources typically that you see in a major city or the experience, which is why a lot of people like living there, because they don't have a lot of crime.
Well,
but having a lot of crime does not mean that your murder investigation is inadequate. I'm not understanding how not having a lot of crime equates to inadequate investigation, because the people who are investigating the crimes should be adequate enough to get the job done. That's why they have the job, I would assume. I wouldn't assume that they would just be hiring any Joe Schmo off the street just to be investigating crimes, especially self-deletions, murder self-deletion cases. Like, you mean just anybody can come into that township and just get those positions? Like, I would think that the people would be competent enough to conduct a thorough investigation, and the thoroughness of the investigation not be compromised by frequency of crimes. Make it make sense, because it don't make sense to me. The frequency of the crimes have nothing to do with the adequacy of the people investigating the crimes. I'm just saying, make it make sense.
do you think in situations like this is when they try to tap on other officials to help them with a case such as this one?
Yeah, and I know the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, typically gets involved, and they did get involved in this, but again, it's still early, so it's hard to say. And unfortunately for us, the police typically don't give out a lot of information, right? Because they want to see if they can get any leads, if there are any tips, and sometimes they actually give out intention.
Depending on who the suspect is, that depends on the amount of information that comes out. Depending on who the suspect and depending on who the victim is, that often will determine the amount of information that will come out about said case or said victim or said suspect. Yeah.
False information, try to generate a lead.
Well, the twins' family insists that they would not harm each other. How much weight does a family's perspective hold in cases like this?
I mean, you would hope that the family would know their kids better than anybody, obviously, right? I mean, it's pretty scary that this would all of a sudden just happen and there's been no sign at all.
And of course, we're going to have to wait for more information to come out, more time, all those things. We're going to have to wait. But for right now, according to all the information that is given from the people that know them best, like the lady said, because they know them best. So from the people that know them best, they have no reason to conclude that the twins would want to hurt each other. So we got to go with that for right now. That doesn't mean our mind can't be changed, but that's what we have to go with right now because we have no other information to go off of.
Whatsoever. But I don't know the family, and none of us do, so I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Nobody ever knows that. So that may be the face they're putting on for the public. Again, I don't know. They may be 100% the greatest family in the world. So I'm just commenting. So who knows? And unfortunately, maybe for them, maybe the kids were involved in something or had some issues going on they didn't know about. But again, hard to say.
Do you think, just the fact alone that the family is saying, hey, this would never happen is reason enough to reopen the case or to continue investigating? Or is this something that, police deal with all the time with families saying that, hey, this wouldn't happen or that wouldn't happen?
Sure. I have cases where people get involved in stuff where the families have zero idea. And as a parent of a teenager, it's kind of scary, so we think we know what's going on in our kids' lives, but sometimes you just don't. So it could just be a complete shock to them, and it could be true. Who knows? It's very unfortunate, very sad at the end of the day, no matter what.
What kind of evidence would be needed to confirm or refute this murder-suicide theory?
I mean, I'd want to be looking for like gunshot residue on at least, obviously, one of the decedent's hands or body. Weapon, obviously, would be nice with someone's fingerprints if that was found somewhere. I think in a murder-suicide, you think they'd find the weapon right there at the location. I'm not sure how, if someone killed himself, how the weapon would disappear, unless someone came along. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a murder. We don't know if they're supposed to go to Boston. They had tickets. Maybe they ran into somebody that kidnapped them. Maybe they're meeting somebody somewhere and something went sideways. Maybe them going to Boston was a ruse and something bad happened. You know, I hate to speculate. I mean, I know that's what we do right now, but I would definitely be looking for a lot of those things. Text messages. You know, I was through the police. We got search warrants and
so now I am trying to look for more information on Scott Kierland. So Scott Kierland is the volunteer firefighter who was charged, and he's the person who took the pictures. Well, they're charging him with interfering in the investigation because he took the pictures and circulated them on social media. So he's being charged with interfering in the investigation, not with the actual murder of the twins. But he's a Georgia firefighter who was arrested and fired after being accused of taking photos of a disturbing scene where twin teen brothers were found dead on top of a mountain and sharing them publicly. Scott Kierland has been accused of interfering in the investigation into the death of the 19-year-old brothers. But I'm just, you know, it's hard to believe. It's like you come across dead bodies and you take pictures and share them across social media. You don't call the police. Now, why, if he come across dead bodies and he doesn't call the police, why do you think he doesn't call the police? But, you know, people are doing dumb crimes, the dumbest crimes today. So he don't call the police, but he takes pictures and share them across social media. So you're still associating yourself with this, right? Call the police. If you're not guilty, call the police, right? So Scott Kierland of Hiawassee is a volunteer firefighter in Towns County. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said Tuesday, March 18th, that the 42-year-old shared the gruesome photos of the death scene of the twins with the public. Kierland was charged with misdemeanor obstruction. He was also removed from duty for violating department protocol. I'm just saying. I wouldn't involve myself outside of calling the police on something that I'm just saying, like, if I don't got nothing to do with it, I'm just call the police to make sure the police can get it up. I'm not going to try to get social media. But that's another angle too. I'm going to try to get social media clout. So either way, whether the white man, whether Scott Kierland was the perpetrator or not, he's stupid. And he doesn't give a damn about people who he has no respect for dead bodies. He doesn't give a damn about those two boys because instead of doing the right thing, he did the social media thing. So either way, that makes him look stupid and foolish. And it make him look a little guilty too. I'm just saying. I understand why you're the prime suspect. I understand why you're being charged. I understand why you're being looked at. You live in Hiawassee County. You're on top of the mountain. These boys, according to their family, have never been there. They were supposed to be in Boston, but they end up on top of a mountain. So I'm just saying, you know, Scott, you look crazy, Scott. I'm just saying.
And got, you know, look into their messages or locations or emails, see what was going on. There are call logs. I mean, those are things they would definitely be looking into.
Now, but with the murder-suicide theory, I like what you brought up there about, the murder weapon. Wouldn't they have found that, or is that something that just wouldn't get released to the public? Because you would think that if they're saying that this,
they would have been told us about the murder weapon. Let's stop playing. They would have been told us about the murder weapon. The fact that nobody's talking about any type of weapon let you know something. They would have been told us about a murder weapon.
is murder-suicide and one of the twins potentially killed the other, then there would be a gun. Or is it just possible that they wouldn't tell the public?
I mean, it's weird, right? Common sense dictates if someone kills himself, they can't get rid of the.
When OJ was accused of taking out Nicole Simpson, they talked about weapons. They always talk about weapons. They always talk about weapons especially when black men are involved. They always talk about weapons. Let's stop playing. We be knowing the weapons that be involved. So so let's stop playing. Of course, we know certain cases for certain people, but for us, we already know what they tell you about the weapons. And the fact that no weapon has been mentioned or no weapon has been found. So how do they take themselves out with no weapon? How do the twins take themselves out with no weapon? I need to find the autopsy.
God, I'm not laughing at the death. I'm just laughing at how they're impossible. So I don't know the situation or how there's no weapon found if they're claiming it's murder-suicide. That's certainly a contradiction. And to answer your question is, maybe the police aren't giving out that information. Maybe they're trying to see if that leads to someone coming forward with more information.
Developing at this hour, a middle school track and wrestling coach is now
Hold on. Before we get to that, that's our next story. But I'm looking some information for the autopsy right now. See where, because I clicked on the link that talks about, it says autopsy result for twins found dead at top of a Georgia mountain. Gunshot wounds. So they're dead from gunshot wounds, but no gun has been found. No gun was found with the twins. So how do you take yourself out in a murder-suicide, but the gun is not right there? Where is the gun? So that would mean somebody else must have the gun if the gun is not, because he's not going to hit himself, and then, especially if it's a fatal wound, you're not going to be able to get rid of the gun like that, and the gun wouldn't be too far. Even if he was able to throw the gun wouldn't go too far if it's a fatal wound, right? So talk to us like we're not stupid. Don't just tell us stuff because it sounds good. Talk to us as if we are intelligent beings and we have reason and common sense. Where is the weapon? Why isn't the weapon within the vicinity? Because it's not like either one of them have the strength to Superman throw that weapon. So even if they throw the weapon away, if you scour the area, the weapon will be in reach to be found, if you know what you're doing. But we've already, earlier concluded that some of the investigators clearly aren't the best, because the investigators are hindered by the lack of the occurrence of crime in the area. So it smells like a bunch of bullshit in this story to me. I'm just saying, a lot of information is being covered up. A lot of stuff is not being told, and a lot of people doing some things. This is what we call systematic stuff. Just individual instances have happened. But if we can't get the information, if we can't get resolution, that goes to the system. That's not just the individual. I'm just saying, don't talk to me like I'm stupid. Talk to me like I got some sense. If you can't find the gun, somebody might have it, or somebody took it somewhere else to dispose of it. So it couldn't have been them. I'm just saying. Now, I'm not saying that my mind cannot be changed, but I'm just saying, with all the information that we have and the conclusions and just thinking, somebody took those young men out. And Scott Kierland might have a lot to do with it. All right. So that's the first story, Negro News Network. That's the first story. Second story. Oh, man. So dude name, what his name? Corey M. Ross. Corey need his ass whooped, but let's get into it.
Your question is, maybe the police aren't giving out that information. Maybe they're trying to see if that leads to someone coming forward with more information.
Developing at this hour, a middle school track and wrestling coach is now facing charges and is placed on unpaid leave. This after accusations of sexual battery. 34-year-old Corey Ross is a coach for the Johnstown Monroe School District. Court records show he's accused of engaging in sexual conduct with a student at Pickerington's Ridgeview Junior High School while he was employed there. This allegedly took place over the past 2 years. Today, he was arrested and the district was notified.
If this is true, this is crazy. A middle school, Corey. If this is true, Corey, you are among some of the most scum of the earth. Middle school, you targeting middle schoolers. You're 34 years old, and you're targeting middle schoolers. If this is true, if this is not true, and see, that's why, once again, I don't like situations like this. I don't like these. Because if Corey is actually guilty, then we actually have people out there, grown men out there preying on middle schoolers. And that's crazy because he was a wrestling coach and a track coach, and he acted as a teacher in some instances, right? But if this is true, Corey needs his ass whooped. Corey's sick. And just locking him up won't get the job done. He needs to be rehabilitated for real, right? But if this is not true, then you have middle schoolers who are falsely accusing grown black men of sexual assault. Where she learned that at? And why is she doing that? Is she mad at him? See, we gotta look at it from all angles, right? But from the information that we have, it's like they're looking at him as he's guilty. And if he's not guilty, then yes, we have young white girls out here accusing black men of sexual assault. But let's see what else they got to say. Now this is from the superintendent, Philip Wagner, Johnstown Monroe School District. Says the safety of our students and staff is our highest priority. The district will cooperate with law enforcement regarding this matter. And they did say he's on unpaid administrative leave, so they're under investigation. But how do you get past these allegations, right? So this news story is saying a former Fairfield County middle school coach has been arrested on suspicion of engaging in sexual activity with the student, right? According to Fairfield County court records, Corey M. Ross, 34, the head wrestling coach and track coach for Johnstown Monroe Middle School, was charged with 1 count of sexual battery, a third-degree felony, on March 21st. Ross of Pataskala allegedly engaged in sexual conduct with the student between September 21st, 2023 and March 21st of 2025. Wow. A letter from Johnstown Monroe Middle School superintendent said the abuse happened before Ross started working for the district. The allegations resulting in Mr. Ross's arrest stem from events dating back to September 2023, prior to Ross's employment by Johnstown Monroe, and to our knowledge did not involve a Johnstown Monroe student, the letter states. A spokesperson for the district said the alleged incident happened while Ross worked at a Fairfield school district. According to the letter, Ross was hired by the district. Okay, so this is saying at his previous job, this happened at his previous job, not when he was not working at this job as the wrestling coach for the Johnstown Monroe school district. So it happened when he worked at a separate school district. And it's saying this happened between September 21st of 2023 and March 21st of 2025. And so before he's where he is now, he's messing with the little girl. Allegedly, he's allegedly messing with the little girl. Wow. What do they make them at? How do they make them type of people? Right? Like, because the first thing I think about is like, What goes through a grown man's mind to make him sexually attracted to a minor? Like, some sick stuff got to be going through your mind to be sexually attracted to a minor. Now, Corey Ross is a black man, so that doesn't look good for black men nationwide. And we all know why. For black people, period, we all know why. Individual actions affect overall image. Individual actions affect overall image. So remember, the black man in America originally was deemed and looked at as a sexual predator. And so stories like this help to reinforce that stereotype. Now, once again, if all of these allegations are untrue, I highly doubt they are, but if they are untrue, then the young middle school girls have already learned that I can just falsely accuse a black man for anything, because we know white girls do that when they get caught doing stuff. When a white girl get caught doing something she ain't supposed to be doing, especially if she doing it with a black dude, she gonna holler grape. It's been happening since the beginning of America, right? Them devious white women, when they get caught doing something with a colored boy that they ain't supposed to be doing, they holler grape. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened in this situation. I'm just throwing out all possibilities. I'm gonna be honest with you though. I don't know about you, Corey. I don't know if I can rock with you on this one, Corey. I don't know if I can even try to think of no subject or whatever to defend you or anything else on this history or nothing behind that, Corey. I don't know now. You looking real suspicious, allegedly. Allegedly, you looking real suspicious out here, Corey. And I'm just being real. If this is true, you need some kind of punitive actions, right? And you lucky I'm not in charge, because, if I was in charge, I have punishments that will greatly reduce these essays that be happening. Trust me, I'm very creative. The punishment won't match the crime, correct? Because we're gonna make sure you don't do it again. That's just crazy that we got folk around here like this. But this also reminds me of like the white women school teacher. The white women school teachers around the country. We keep getting story after story after story. And I hope I find one for another Negro news story, right? But we keep getting stories of the white women who are having sex with middle school and high school black boys. Like I saw a story where the white teacher, she manipulated like 5 boys into running the train on them. Children ain't safe out here. We gotta be careful who we putting around children, man. We really gotta be safe who we putting around our children. But also, this also is another log on the fire to make it seem like men and black men can't control ourselves, like we can't control our sexual urges, and men are just sexual predators, and that's not true. There's a small subset of men who actually do this. But women do it as well, but it's not taught the same way, right? That's why I'm mentioning the white women who are sleeping with these underage black boys and getting slaps on the wrist. They may get probation or a little light sentence or whatever, but they definitely not gonna get charged like Corey gonna get charged. And these white women out here doing the same thing. And I'm not saying it's okay to do it. When I say that, I'm not saying it's okay to do it. What I want is equal justice, equal shame, equal time, equal punishment, all that stuff across the board. If you mess with kids, whatever your gender is, whatever your race is, whatever your age is, you mess with kids, you get the book thrown at you, no matter what. That's my stance. If you mess with kids, I don't care who you are, you get the book thrown at you. But I am pointing out that there's an abundance of women, grown women, who are preying on young male boys who are getting slaps on the wrist. That's what I am saying. So Let's get to
In a
this.
statement, the
Get to the next
superintendent
story.
tells us, quote, "The safety of our students and staff is our highest priority. The district will cooperate with law enforcement regarding this matter."
Can you imagine?
So we're going to end on a good note. We're going to end on this bright young man who's going to make our day. So I'm going to make my screen big. Big screen. Let's go.
Being part of an elite club that only 2% of the world's population is qualified to join, no matter your age. That would be pretty significant. In this edition of What's Your Story, I introduce you to the smartest kid in the room.
What do you?
He's such a funny kid. He brightens your day.
Hot dog.
Fun has a way of following first grader Terrian Collins.
I look at the lights and look at you. I cannot even see you.
Yeah. The 6-year-old is easy to find.
So Torian, what is 67 minus 54?
13.
13, great job.
You can't stump this kid. He also comes armed with a joke or two.
Why did the hamburger go to the gym?
Why?
So it could get better buns.
4 years ago, Terrian's mother was not laughing.
He wasn't really talking. He was mama, dada, and that was a little iffy. I don't think he was saying 10 words.
A mother's intuition led to a trip to the pediatrician.
He needs his adenoids taken out. He needs tubes placed in his ears. Right now, he's hearing and it sounds like he's underwater. So everything sounds mumbled to him. His speech is mumbled.
3 months later,
He has not stopped talking since.
Go.
to the astonishment of his parents, Terrian started reading as a 2-year-old.
I called him in the room and I said, "Hey, can you read this to me and tell me what it says?"
With his test scores off the chart, Terrian applied to Mensa. It's an organization that recognizes people that score in the 98th percentile in standardized testing.
He's the perfect candidate for a program like that. I mean, these are the most intelligent people in the world, and he fits right on in that group.
We're delighted to let you know that you qualify.
A lot of people don't get this, and I get this. So, I'm pretty important. And I said, okay.
Termites are insects.
This kid has taken his newest honor in stride.
What did you think?
I probably had a chance of it. And I did.
He is a character, trust me. He is definitely different.
What other state is like Hawaii?
Alaska.
He has now set some modest goals.
We have to keep him on his toes, because if we don't, he's going to keep us on our toes.
First off, Dak Prescott.
He just wants to become an NFL player who moonlights as an astronaut. That is once he takes the fast track through college.
Of course, he said he's going to Harvard at 13. So we're going to do whatever we have to do to get him to Harvard at 13.
What?
Yeah. Terrian. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The young man knows he's brilliant, and he's not afraid to show it. A young black boy who knows he's brilliant and not afraid to show it was able to overcome obstacles, health obstacles that limited his hearing and limited his speech, but it didn't limit his intelligence because he could read, write, understand. His cognitive abilities were there. His critical thinking abilities were there. It was just, I think they said his adenoids needed to be removed and he needed tubes in his ear. Once that happened, he was able to hear clearly and speak clearly. She said he was reading that too, and it was on. And he's a part of Mensa. He's part of some of the most intelligent people in the world. A young black boy who's confident in himself that he's one of the most intelligent people in the world. How do you not smile about that? How do you not love that? Of course, he going to Harvard. Of course, we go to HBCU, but we get it. We get it. But it's just, I love to see stories like that. I search hard for a story like this, to be honest, because it's easy to find the crazy stuff, but it's hard to find the good stuff. And I always want to find a good story to show that, yes, it's some crazy stuff happening in the Negro world, but it's some great stuff happening as well. We're all not messed up. We're all not trying to destroy ourselves. We're all not trying to bring the community down. There's a good number of us who want to be the greatest versions of ourselves. There's a good number of us who want to see others be the greatest versions of themselves. There's a great number of us who want our community to be better. We're going to take the time to pour into others. Nurture this young man. Nurture this young man to make sure that he uses his intelligence to better the lives of himself, his family, and his people. And I'm happy that his family, his parents are so involved in his learning. He said he wanted to go to Harvard at 13. They're like, we're going to make sure you get to Harvard at 13. But even before that, they were involved in his learning, involved in his development. That's what parenting is, being involved in the child's development. Not complaining about stuff. Like, you made the child. So go help the child develop into something great. And that young man's future is bright. I'm talking about bright. He deserves all the opportunities he get. He deserves all the accolades he get. He deserves all the awards he get. He deserves all the praise he gets. He deserves to be in minister. And anybody got a problem with you got to come see me. Black excellence, man. Black people doing great things. And at such a young age, that is a testament to the village around him, to his family, his parents, pouring into him. I love it. Family, black family, black family. That's one of the purposes and the importance of family, to raise children right. And when I say raise children right, that doesn't mean that they just graduate college and they get a job. No, they're actual productive citizens. They're good people. They're people with integrity, people with character, people with morals, high moral character, who make things better, who don't bring problems, but bring solutions and love. That's what I'm talking about. Say, black people, we got some bright spots, but let's highlight these bright spots more and do our best to create these bright spots. Hey man, that's negronews.com. You know, unfortunately, the twins were taken out. Corey Ross messing with middle schoolers, but Terrion is a genius. He's a black boy with a thirst for knowledge, and he ain't scared to hide it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Shout out to his parents. Shout out to him. Shout out to his family. Shout out to everybody who's pouring into him. Keep pouring into him. This is negronews.com. I am Joseph Ward. Remember to like this video, comment, share, and subscribe, and make sure as many people get this video as possible. Happy Saturday. Y'all make sure the rest of your Saturday is good. Have a good Sunday. Have a good weekend. Wake up on Monday refreshed and ready to go. Hey, because that's how we do it around these parts. Peace.